Hello, I'm Alex Opdyke, and today we're going to be learning about my project for the Justice Counts learning community. And my research question was, have the COVID lockdowns disproportionately affected the unemployment rates of minority races? So, we have a data set that has the monthly unemployment claims by race in Missouri. So, we made it so that each case is a monthly report for the unemployment rates of a particular racial category. So in total, the dataset has 396 cases, 376 of which are before April 2020, and so are pre-pandemic lockdowns. We have 20 cases after April 2020, and then include April 2020, that are post-pandemic lockdowns. So we're going to call those post-pandemic and before April 2020, pre-pandemic. So our variables are race, which has 4 categories, is categorical. Our other variable is going to be unemployment, which is numerical and is going to be the proportion of the population that has filed for unemployment. We've gotten the proportion by taking our monthly unemployment claims by race data and also getting the census data from Missouri for each race, and we're able to see the proportion of the population of each race that had filed for unemployment, and that's how we're able to get the proportion of the population. So for our pre-pandemic test, we ran in ANOVA. We had an F-score of 60.2. It's pretty big. And we had a p-value less than 0.01. So that would mean if there were no differences in unemployment rates among the racial groups, there would be a less than 0.01% chance of seeing data as extreme or more extreme than what we saw. So we end up rejecting the null hypothesis, and we said that there's sufficient evidence that there is a difference in unemployment rates among white people, Black/African American people, Asian/Pacific Islander people, and American Indian/Alaska Native people in Missouri. And then so we did a post-HOC analysis for this pre-pandemic test, and we see that all of the small p-values are when we compare the Black/African American group to the other groups, compared to the American Indian/Alaska Native group, compared to Asian/Pacific Islander group, and compared to the white group, there are very small p-values. So we're able to say that there's a difference in the unemployment rates for Black/African American people in Missouri. And if we look at the data, we see that it is a higher rate of unemployment. So the difference is in a higher rate of unemployment for Black/African American people in Missouri. And then again, we ran a post-pandemic test, again in ANOVA, with an F-score of 13.1. We had a p-value less than 0.01, and ultimately, if there were no differences in unemployment rates among racial categories after the COVID lockdowns, there would be a little bit more than a 0.01% chance of seeing numbers as extreme or more extreme than what we saw. Again, a super low chance of seeing that. So we end up rejecting the null hypothesis, and we say that there's sufficient evidence that there's a difference in unemployment rates among white people, Black/African American people, Asian/Pacific Islander people, and American Indian/Alaska Native people in Missouri after the COVID lockdowns. Again, we ran a post-HOC analysis, and again, we see all the small p-values are when we compare the Black/African American group with the other groups, all of which have a very small p-value, definitely below our confidence level. And again, we look at the numbers for the Black/African American group, and again, it is much higher. So this small p-value is due to the Black/African American community having a higher rate of unemployment post-pandemic lockdowns. So our conclusion, again, we're just going to restate the research question. So have COVID lockdowns disproportionately affected the unemployment rates of minority races? And the answer is yes, COVID lockdowns have disproportionately affected minority races, but minority races were also disproportionately affected by unemployment before the COVID lockdowns, which is pretty interesting, especially when considering injustice. So here's my little report. I chose this research question because I thought it was pretty interesting, because everyone in America has been affected by these COVID lockdowns. Some people have been affected more than others. Some people have lost their jobs. Some people have been fortunate enough to keep their jobs. And it's affected everyone in different ways. So I want to see if there were differences in how different racial categories were affected by these COVID lockdowns. So the data was obtained from data.gov, so it's pretty reputable, and is of the monthly unemployment rates in Missouri by race. And we also got data from the Missouri census on the population of each race in Missouri. So we were able to get .gov data, pretty reliable. Yeah. And just a little bit of discussion. I think people should care about these conclusions because they show that there's a statistically significant difference in unemployment rates, both pre and post pandemic, for unemployment rates of racial categories. And in the post HOC analysis that we did, it's mainly black folks that are that have a different unemployment rate, and the unemployment rate is much higher for those folks. So I think people should care about this because now that we know that, we can perhaps work to fix it. I would like for the audience to do something about it, perhaps look into more data about how races are affected by unemployment and the COVID lockdowns, because unemployment isn't the only effect of the COVID lockdowns. It's one of them, but there's certainly more. I'd like the audience to perhaps donate to a charity helping folks that are unemployed that happen to be of races that are a little more affected of unemployment than others. So connecting to injustice. So my conclusion in the Statistics Project confirms that what we are learning about in imaging injustice, it is more evidence of systemic targeting of minorities. And because we found that there was a major difference in unemployment rates for black folks, we can say that, and we see that they have higher unemployment rates. That could perhaps be evidence of some sort of systemic racism that treats black folks worse than other people. And I could use my conclusions to educate people about how minority races are treated differently in America. The unemployment rates are just an example of how people are treated differently, and because unemployment is typically linked with poverty. So if more black folks are unemployed, then there are typically more black folks that are in poverty. And people can use my conclusions to resist injustice by helping out black folks who are unemployed, or volunteering to help out unemployed people in communities of color, so that perhaps this gap in unemployment could be lessened, so that there are low and equal unemployment rates among all races. There's just a little bit of reflection. So I learned that data could often be in a different shape than what is needed for the test that we're going to run. This happened to me at the beginning of this project. With help from Dr. Bagley, I was able to get the data in the correct shape. So I didn't know it could be like that, and it ended up being like that. So that was pretty interesting. I thought doing the test was pretty fun. I had fun putting in all the code and stuff. Once you understand R, I thought it was pretty fun. And I ultimately wish I had found data that didn't need to be reshaped, because it added a bunch of complexity and code that probably could have been avoided, but ultimately I ended up being happy with the project, so oh well. And the experience of me doing this project has changed the way I think about unemployment. I didn't really think that there'd be a major difference in unemployment rates, and I didn't think it would be as drastic as it was. I was not expecting p-values so low. And I don't know for sure why it's this drastic. It could be for a variety of reasons. Again, connected to imaging injustice, it's perhaps is due to a systemically racist system. A little bit redundant, systemic system. But also the COVID lockdowns have closed that gap in unemployment rates among races, which is a little interesting. I did not expect that. I thought, if anything, it would widen it. But that's what happened in Missouri, and it should be representative of the entire U.S. But even though that unemployment gap has decreased, it is still disproportionately affecting black folks, and I found that pretty interesting. Definitely not good. Yeah. And this was just a summary presentation. If you want to view my full report, which goes into a lot more detail, here's the link to that, and here's the works cited for my data set. And of course, there's the monthly unemployment claims by race and the census data. So I hope you all enjoyed that, and have a wonderful day. Thank you.